One of the other things that I wanted to touch on, you mentioned earlier that people are sometimes shocked by the boring parts of the job. I think one of the things with this that people do, not just in coaching, but in everything, they think about the title rather than about the actual tasks that you do in whatever this job is. And one of the things that I wanted to do with this podcast and a bunch of the other stuff that I'm doing is shine a light on actually what a day to day is kind of like for coaching, because people like me and you have been doing this for ages. It's like it you forget that people, if they haven't seen it, they wouldn't even know. So what's your average day in your job at the moment? So head coach in the LFL, what's like, if there is an average day, what does it look like?
So first, I would say that I will say what is my ideal average day. Consider that last year, in when I was head coach in LFL, I was also solo coach, which made the job first very hard and very different because I don't think I was able to do everything I wanted, and at some point there was a lot of fatigue of running everything alone, which couldn't allow me to do everything I wanted. So let's say I could organize. I think I would organize my time a bit differently next year, which would be a bit more optimal. And I think that's which is how I did it maybe more in the past. But basically, my day would be I wake up at 8 or 7:30, 8. I go to the gym or boxing. I mean every day, so one or the other, and I would arrive at the office I think at 10:30, something like this. Um, I mean, ideally I could arrive at 10, but I think realistically with the season going, I would arrive at 10:30. Then it would be a mix of different tasks. There is so this year we're gonna have an assistant coach that is most likely gonna take a part of drafting, which would allow me to spend more time doing game research about and spend more time talking with the players about how they feel about their goals, doing more one-to-ones. But I would say that between 10:30 and 11:30, it would be I would call it research on whatever topic. It would be game review, whether other teams, ours, whatever. I think ideally I would do some one-to-ones with players at 11:30, and then at 1 I would eat, and between 1 and 1:30 we would prepare the scrim with the assistant coach. Also talk about draft assumptions, where we currently are in the preparation of the draft. Note that all of this is always very flexible. Like it's not like, and I know that every day would be different. That there would be maybe discussion with a player or whatever, something to film or some content or whatever. But ideally, so 1:30, around 1:30 or 1:40, it would be like pre-scrim meeting, where we would like set goals with global goals with the players, so not one necessarily individual. That would be in one-to-ones. Talk about the draft with the players if necessary. I mean, it really depends because sometimes, there will be a global presentation about a new topic. It would be coming back to the points from. Usually, I would try to come back from the major points from the day before. That's something I haven't always done. I've been doing more systematically at the end of the year, and I think that's really good. It's just everything you add takes more time, So that's why this year I think I will have way more time to focus or refine my coaching approach. But yeah, so basically I prepare the scrim. I have a meeting with the players. Then will it be the 5 games in a row, the two times 3 games? That's the eternal debate of the beginning of the season. I'm not too sure. I think that it's always the same at the beginning of the season. Everyone wants to do twice 3 games, and then people usually come back from it. But we'll see. So let's say it's 5 games, like it is most of the time in ERL. So I end up at 7:30. That I would say. Depends whether I directly go back home and I work for 1 hour from home, or I would stay 1 hour, whether maybe to do a debrief with the team outside of the gaming room, and then review some individual stuff. Usually I do it from home, but maybe this year I'm gonna stay at the office to do it. I will see. Review a bit of stuff and prepare to work for I would say the task for the day after. So I'm usually home at 8:30, 9, and sometimes, like I said, gym in the morning. Sometimes I do boxing at night and not in the morning, and then I don't know. I prepare. I prepare dinner. And I spend 2 hours with my girlfriend, and I go to bed. And I usually read like 30 minutes, and I go to bed.
Mm.
So this is my detailed schedule.
It's good. I mean, it's pretty full on, isn't it? That's one of the things that people really need to get into their heads around. I mean, it's the same with players, of course, but during the season, it's very full on and very intense.
It's extremely intense and exhausting, I think. That's why, like, but that's also like, as for me, like I see a lot of especially young coaches, that would like go that would still watch VODs until very late, and like for me, I've done it for 7 years, and I know that the main risk is during a season for me is to burn out. And like because of stress, because of exhaustion, because of just lack of interest, and I try to make sure that I keep some time off, like whether, for example, at night, that's why I'm doing a lot of sports on the side, that I keep like reading before going to bed, and that's also one of the reasons I'm in France. I'm really happy to work in France. Is that I like here I'm in my apartment, but that's where I live all year, and I go to the office while staying in my apartment. I'm with my girlfriend, my cat, my friends. So and I still maintain. I try to maintain normal social life. I don't know, I go out, things like this. And for me, it's extremely important. And for me, I really see it as a job. I don't have the same passion for League of Legends anymore. Like maybe some people do, and I think that's important, especially if you have like more of a positional role, positional coach role. Like I don't even play the game, and if it was not for my job, I wouldn't watch League of Legends outside of the job. I don't find any enjoyment in watching League. But so I'm trying to really separate things from the work, and always make sure that I have I'm maintaining my mental stability. But I think that I'm starting to kind of to master this. Like I had more issues in the past, even when I was way more interested in League. But also the same way that when you are very interested in League, you play a lot of game, and you play a lot the game, and you're like, yeah, but it helps my job. But the reality is that when you play 20 games a week, that's almost a job itself, to play 20 games a week. And I don't think it brings that much necessarily, unless like you are a positional coach playing off top lane, playing 20 games in Master Plus Elo, but then that's your only job. So I think as a head coach, I think it can be very often some wasted time. It's not fully wasted, but compared to the efficiency and the limited time you have available as a coach, I think it's really wasted.
I mean, there's an infinite amount of things to be doing. So it's not about if it's useful. It's like you say, it's like comparing everything. One of the other things that I think people often don't really take into consideration as a coach is that coaching for me is a performance as well. I mean, especially when you're doing reviews or something like that, the game ends, you've got your notes, and you somehow have to condense them, bring them back to the goals like you talked about before. And there's sometimes you're going to do that well, and there's sometimes you're going to do that poorly. And the thing for me that I've noticed as I'm getting older and doing this longer is that it's not even so much that I just want other time to burn out on the long term, although that is important, to have some like rest and recovery time. But also I even noticed like the next day, my reviews are a little bit worse if I didn't prioritize my sleep properly and stuff like that. And it's like, it just has an immediate impact as well as that longer term one.
No, I agree. I think like energy is so important in this. Like all my personally, I have big sleeping issues, and most of my like focus is to make sure that I have a lot of energy. Like if you don't have energy going into as a job as a coach, like it's pointless. Like you have like it's like going to school and your teacher is boring, and his lessons are not interesting, his points are useless, like you are not going to listen to him. But here it's way more important than being a teacher, because like we are talking about high performance. You can't afford to really, and like you can't afford to drop a session. And that's why I prioritize way more having energy, being on top of my game, and having a healthy lifestyle, than necessarily grinding the game. And that's why I think ideally you would need multiple people, as like multiple roles as coaches. Like you would need a game nerd that would look for new builds or new, like how to read perfectly the new matchups, etc. But I think that there are different roles. I think, but again, I think basically what makes a team win in the long run is really elsewhere.